Well, hi everybody, this is Dr. Schroeder with this week's video introduction to week number 4 of our course in evidence-based practice. And a very busy week it's been for you guys. On week number 3, we had one discussion question discussing the difference between integrative reviews and meta. And you had 2 articles that you were to review and then to identify if the correct methodology was used, or if you could understand the difference between the meta-analysis and the integrator reviews. Generally a very good discussion this week. I think that Christy had said it best in one of the discussion forums where she had indicated it's like, 19 of us all basically using different terminology, which is essentially that yes, these are each of these articles are really pretty good examples of the difference between a meta-analysis and an integrator review. Meta-analysis is essentially just a overall analysis of a number and multiple number of quantitative research studies. In this particular case, it was the Shin, Park, and Kim article on the effectiveness. And an integrator review is a review of overall literature more on a qualitative basis, or qualitative type reviews. In other words, non-research studies. And this was an article that was talking about the relationship between personality and choice of nursing specialty. Kind of an interesting little topic and an interesting integrator review. One of the important things to remember is that just like with all qualitative studies, you can't study or take even an integrator review. You can't look at the entire body of qualitative research or qualitative information and come up with any hard proof facts about it. All it is really opinions. What do people think? What do people say? What are people's opinions? It doesn't really prove anything. It takes a quantitative methodology to do that. And that's kind of a big difference between qualitative and quantitative, and between the reviews and meta-analysis. Meta-analyses follow a deductive logic reasoning process, or deductive flow, deductive way of coming up with decisions about what data means. And an integrator review is an inductive process. Looking at all this literature, what does it say? What can we gather from this? What kind of information can we glean? What inferences can we make? Now, you can't prove those inferences. It takes a quantitative study to do that. But that's really the differences between these 2 types of reviews. Also, the big task that you had to do in week number 3 was your evidence-based practice part 1 paper. And I had quite a few questions, and I hope that I answered them well about how the paper was to be structured. By now you should have a very well-defined PICO. Your paper should describe your PICO, how you came up with the PICO statement, and then you're going to describe and discuss, you're going to list in the table, or you will have listed in the table, the table of evidence, the 5 pieces of information that you located from your literature search. And then for each one of those articles, you will have completed one of the appraisal tools, either appraisal tool E or F in the Deerholt and Dang text. And then you only need to answer the portion of those appraisal tools that applies to the research studies that you had reviewed. So I hope that was clear. I did have a lot of questions about that, a lot of formatting questions. I understand that formatting these papers is a real pain. It really is. But it is one of those skills that is really important that you're going to need as you continue along in the program, because writing these papers and writing your capstone is going to include a lot of the techniques and the APA things that you're applying in this class. So I appreciate your hard work and your diligence with that. And yes, I hear your frustration, and I hear how difficult it can be. Sometimes just working with these Word documents can take a lot of, it just takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of trial and error. But usually once you have your format down, it makes it quite a bit easier. In week number 4, we're going to be talking about 2 other different types of appraisals. We're going to be talking about metasynthesis, meta-analysis. What's the difference between a metasynthesis and a meta-analysis? And so that's more of a conceptual discussion that we're going to have. And then we're going to be talking about clinical practice guidelines. And clinical practice guidelines are just like they sound. They're guidelines that have been developed for implementation into clinical practice by nurses and by other disciplines pertaining to a particular subject or to a particular need. We use something called the AGREE tool, or the most current one is the AGREE number tool. The AGREE tool. It doesn't sound right. AGREE tool to appraise clinical practice guidelines. And so you have a copy of that instrument. You're going to discuss and talk about how it is used in clinical practice. And that'll be the focus of your discussion questions this week. Also in week number 4, your statistics assignment is due. And this is questions that you've had. They're in the syllabus. You've had them for the entire class. You can use any statistics textbook to locate the answers to those questions. Some of them you may already know, or you may be able to go through and take this test, depending on how strong you are in statistics or how much you remember from your statistics course. It is really pretty basic questions, really meant more as a review. You will open the statistics answer submission. You're going to answer the test questions. Again, you've got those test questions all up front, so don't answer get the questions out of the syllabus and don't actually answer them until you actually have the answers. And then you can just go ahead and include the correct answers in that statistics assignment, and that will be due by Sunday. In week number 5, you'll be completing, and we'll be discussing next week, your evidence-based practice part 2 paper, which is how you're going to be discussing how you would implement your PEO question for that new intervention that you developed and discussed in your evidence-based practice part 1 paper. We're going to talk about how would you actually do it? How would you actually plan it? How would you plan the implementation process? And so next week we'll be talking more implementation and talking about the challenges and the process for implementing new practice. And that pretty much takes up we got quite a bit on our plate. We're getting through. At the end of this week, we'll be halfway through. One thing, I do apologize that I had limited time in class yesterday. I'm recording this on Monday morning. I'm down here in Southern California, and although I'm not directly affected by the fires here that they're having burning north of Los Angeles, we have had a lot of wind down here. And so yesterday, on Sunday, my power was out much of the day. It wasn't out. It was out for like half hour, 45 minutes at a time. And so that really impacted my ability to get into class. So I had an email from a couple of you wanting to make sure that I'm okay and that I'm out of dangerous way, and that yes, I'm out of dangerous way. However, the forces of nature have created some havoc. So that's why I'm actually getting this recorded to you on Monday morning, not Sunday as I would usually do. So I hope everybody has a great week. I hope that you're having a great Veterans Day. If you have any questions, please, as always, feel free to let me know. And I look forward to seeing you in the discussion forums.